All right, and it looks like we
It
are
looks like we are actually live.
live.
What the?
What's up, everybody?
Okay, give us the intro. I'm just gonna double check that we're actually live.
Okay,
on
cool. Greetings and aloha, everyone, and welcome to this live Flowcast with me, myself, Jonathan Berry, and my co-host, Ronja Sebastian. And super excited to have Ronja here today and to be just sharing these transmissions, these next level envisions for our daily practice. And we're really here to channel into some inspiration that we've been exploring and tapping into recently, that's all about peak performance and really nourishing ourselves, our minds, our bodies, our souls, so that we can step into our dream projects fully, effortlessly. And Ronja is really a master of effortless manifestation and flow and creation. And as someone who's been lucky enough to witness you and your capacity as a masterful creator, Ronja has just blown me away as international facilitator, retreat host. She's the founder of the Ecstatic Awakening Retreat, and also recently launched a new program that's called Sensual Bliss, and that's all about how to become a multi-orgasmic woman. But I'm pretty sure men can watch it too and figure out how to become a multi-orgasmic man, I'm sure.
Totally, that's definitely a new frontier to explore as well. I was going to say not so much for today's topic, but who knows where this conversation will go.
Flow.
Yeah, beautiful, guys. So hey everyone, wherever you're tuning in from in the world, hope you're doing awesome. And so Jonathan and I were jamming and we're tuning into what would be of the biggest service, and when we're tuning into all of you and where you're at and what might help to open up the space for even a deeper discovery of your own creativity and genius. There was something here about self-care as a portal into peak performance. And I want to start us off with that what I see so much when I talk to people and when I work with entrepreneurs, and also just within myself in my own journey, there can be this false perception and this idea that as an entrepreneur we have to be in go mode 24 hours a day. It's almost like I only sleep 3 hours per night and I never eat, and I'm only like, my fingers are glued to my computer, and if I'm more than 5 meters away from my computer, it's like I'm on the run, you know. So it's like there's this misconception that to be productive or to be creative means to be in that output mode or in that go mode all the time. And it's almost like if you take a walk or you have a bath, it's like you feel guilty. And so there's something here around, first of all, permission for self-care, that actually it's not selfish. Self-care is not selfish, because the thing is that when you are drained and you're emptied, and I'm not talking about emptied in the sense of that you're meditating and your mind becomes empty, but when you feel just drained and emptied, everything you create from that space is going to be mediocre at best. And so when you are tapped in, when you are nourished, when you are filled up, what comes through from that space is of a so much higher level of excellence. And we're talking here about the art of becoming the overflow, because the thing is that when you're a creative person, this is why self-care is not selfish, and why you have complete permission to take that time. It's because when you are a creative person, which if you're watching this, I'm sure that you are, you know, because that's the kind of people that Jonathan and I tend to hang out with, are creative people. When you take time for self-care and for nourishment, then you become the overflow, meaning that when you actually take time for self-care, your creations and also your service becomes so much deeper and so much bigger. And so there's some keys that we want to share with you here today. But just checking, Jonathan, do you have any shares in this moment?
Totally. Yeah, no, this resonates so deeply, because I feel like we're living in an age right now where you walk down the street and everyone is on their smartphone. People are, spending upwards of 10 hours a day. Average person in the US spending 10 hours a day on a screen. And I don't think that's limited necessarily just to the US. And so this is a global phenomenon that's happening where companies actually have departments that are paying people to figure out how can we increase retention on our apps? How can we get people to be focusing their attention and basically paying attention to these apps? And you know, what ends up happening is we get scattered, right? And we start to spend our energy and our awareness in places that aren't necessarily fully in alignment with operating from that peak state. And so what you're sharing right now, yeah, it's like people are, you know, feeling in debt to communication with people in different platforms, and that's causing us to not be able to operate at our peak state. And so, yeah, I'm curious, like when you are bringing yourself back into that place of nourishment, you know, what are some of the practices that you are exploring? Because I know you're a master of nourishment. I mean, just the food that you eat, you know, hanging out with Ronja, every time we're, you know, going to our retreats, we have farm to table food, you know, and you've always got the superfoods on point. And I'm curious, like, what are some of the other things that you do to stay nourished and to operate in that peak state?
It's funny when you talk about the foods and stuff, because this morning I was literally, by the way, guys, we just left 5 weeks in Sedona. We're now 2 days in New Mexico, and then tomorrow we go to Madagascar. And so I'm in an Airbnb right now in New Mexico. And this morning I woke up and I was like, what do I need right now? And so first of all, I'll share a little bit about what I like to do, but also I want to share more about why it's so powerful. Because if you don't get why this is so powerful, and in a sense, what's in it for you as an entrepreneur and what's in it for you as a creator, you're most likely, either you're going to listen kind of like a bit like distractedly and you're like, yeah, whatever, they're talking about stuff. But when you get how powerful this is and why you gotta just bring this into your life, then you'll be like, oh, I get it now. And then I'll share just a little bit about, you know, what I did. So this morning, I was in the bath eating celery sticks and drinking green tea and a chocolate chai, a raw chocolate chai with like reishi mushrooms and different things inside that I made yesterday in Sedona that I brought with me. And I was reading this book by Kyle Cease called I Hope I Screw This Up, which is one of the most brilliant books I've ever read. And then from that space, I became the overflow. And so then I was like, oh my God, and I got ideas and things. And you know, when you're in a space and you're trying to make something happen, it's like you sit down in front of the computer and you're like, okay, I'm gonna write a blog. Okay, I'm gonna do this. It's like nothing happens. Yeah. And then you just go for a walk, or you go for a run, or you go to the gym, or you take a dance class, or you do some bioenergetic shaking, or things of bliss. And then when you're in that space of aliveness, or you take a bath and you read a book, or you drink chocolate, and you're in that space of just filling yourself up and just tapping into the space of inspiration, ideas just begin to come to you. And then it's like, oh, I gotta get out of the bath because I gotta write a blog post. And it's like writing itself through you, and you just have to move your fingers. And you can let us know in the chat if you're recognizing this feeling of when you actually follow and trust the nourishment and the aliveness, then things just start coming so much. And actually what's been really cool is that this has now become scientifically proven, where if you guys know about the Flow Genome Project, who is doing a lot of, it's created by a couple of guys who are doing a lot of work with Google and NASA and peak athletes and top performers, where they found that when you are in what's called flow state, which means that you're in that state where inspiration is just coming through you and you're feeling clear and energized and in that flow, literally, productivity goes up by 500%.
Yes.
Meaning that as an entrepreneur or as an employee even, theoretically or technically, actually, not even theoretically, like in reality, you could go to work on Monday, take Tuesday through Friday off, and get as much done in that one day that your other people in the cubicle are, you know, or whatever, you know, hopefully you're not in a cubicle, but basically like you could get as much done in one day as the other people are doing in 5. Because you're like, things are just coming through. And for entrepreneurs, this is cool because there can be the sense of when nobody's telling us when to work, it's cool because every day is Saturday and every day is a holiday, but every day is a working day. And there can be this voice, and I have had this, and I still have it a lot, that I just have to be like hold space for, is this voice that is like, you need to be doing something all the time. Like, you could be doing more, you could be doing this. But actually the difference between creating frenetically and creating in a focused way, the difference between frenetic and focused are just universes apart in terms of how you feel, in terms of how much comes through. And the cool thing is that when you actually tap into this flow state, and we talked about this before, but it's worth saying again, because this is part of the whole like what's in it for you, is that you actually begin to bend time, in the sense that you can spend more time just surfing or going to the gym or reading a book or watching a movie or having a bath or making love, and then ideas come and you take action, and boom, something so beautiful was created from that overflow.
That's awesome. And, you know, I feel like just going back to the science, you were talking about the science of flow. And one thing that popped into my mind was that, you know, when you start working on a new project, right? When you get to that computer, you're about to type the email and you're feeling that writer's block, right? And then you start up 22 minutes of bliss, and you do some breathing and shaking, and you get yourself into that state of ecstasis. You get yourself into a new mind state, and then you start to create from that field. When you start building momentum and you start actually creating and like you're actually activating what's called the reticular activation system inside of your brain. And so when Ronja mentions that 5,000% increase in productivity, that's actually physiologically a fact as well, because you start to program yourself to execute at that level. And so there's definitely a learning curve to that, right? Because it's like in the beginning, if you're not used to it, it's like you got to work your way up to that. And so, yeah, I'm curious, like, what do you think that people can do to start practicing this? And how can people get into that state to start creating from a deeper, more nourished, grounded space?
So when it comes to self-care and nourishment, there's definitely not one size fits all. I'm going to mention a couple of things that I have found to just work across the board in terms of instant flow state or instant inspiration. So I'll mention that as well. And the starting point that I really feel in this is your own internal guidance and your own inspiration. And so a really good question that you can ask yourself when you're feeling in that state, when you're feeling tired or you're feeling foggy, or you're just noticing that your mind is pulling in 55 different things at the same time, all of which you should be doing right now, which feels like overwhelm, where it's like all these things, it's, whatever the experience is, whether it's overwhelm, confusion, you're feeling tired, you're feeling drained, to simply ask yourself the question, what do I need right now? So simple. Just what do I need right now? Or maybe a version of that question that works for you would be, what would feel nourishing for me right now? Or what is my desired feeling and how can I bring that? So for example, if you're sitting in front of your computer and you're typing and you're doing something, but you're like, oh, I'm almost falling asleep, or like, in that moment, most likely what's needed for the alchemy and the mix of that moment is aliveness and energy. And you could reach for coffee, or you could, you know, I know Jonathan likes his lattes, you know, like I cannot do caffeine, but whatever that is for you. And so this might be to drink some green juice, or a lot of the times it's like you just need to step away from the computer and just go outside and take a few deep breaths, or even like a 5-minute walk, or 5 minutes of shaking under a tree, or something that's like just bringing some aliveness. Or maybe it's a half-hour break, or maybe you go away and maybe you have productive time in the morning, and then you take 3 hours in the middle of the day where you just go outside, you go to the gym, you have some green juice or your latte or whatever that is for you, and then it's like you get it almost like 2 days in one day, because you have like, maybe say you have 3-4 hours in the morning, or 2 hours in the morning when you're productive after your morning practice, and then you have a couple of hours of break in the day, or maybe just 5-10 minutes, maybe that's all you need, and then it's like you get a second day or maybe you need to take a nap. And very often what happens is that your brain just needs to reset. And so a really good way to do this is to listen to delta brainwave music, which brings your brain, even if you don't fall asleep, it brings your brain into the same wave pattern as though you are in deep sleep. And it usually takes 7 minutes for the brain to entrain. And I have found that when I lay down and I listen to delta music, and my sweet spot is 12 minutes, a 12-minute nap.
Nice.
12 minutes of delta followed by a song that I just love, which is obviously Gabriel's music, Zen Tempest, my partner. His music just always gets me going. And then I wake up and it's like I just had an 8-hour sleep. It's kind of the feeling. And so tuning into what do I need? Maybe that's a nap. Maybe that is some hydration. Maybe you need water or green tea or green juice. Maybe you want to go to the gym. Maybe it is just that you're doing kind of like a boring task or writing emails, and you literally just need to plug in with headphones and listen to Zen Tempest or Closey or Ataya or some music that where you just like you're dancing as you're writing. And so whatever it is that is nourishing for you. And one practice that I keep on coming back to, and that we have thousands of people joining in from all over the world doing this, is something that we've mentioned a couple of times already, which is called 22 Minutes of Bliss, which was designed as a flow hacking inspiration instant immersion experience, which is 7 minutes of activating energy through bioenergetic shaking and releasing, then 5 minutes of breath work, 5 minutes of body activation and movement, and then 5 minutes of dropping completely into the void and into that space of quantum consciousness and quantum creation. And it takes 22 minutes. You just press play and you do it, and I guarantee you feel 1,000,000 times better, and probably your productivity goes up by 50,000%.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, as somebody who has participated in 22 Minutes of Bliss for the last couple of years, I can definitely vouch for the effectiveness of getting, utilizing that technology and that process to get into that flow state, and it's something that we can physically do to get us there. Because a lot of times, as you said, we'll go for the coffee, we'll go for the quick fix to get us, back into a state of presence. But I think sometimes we overlook, the simple things like, dancing, moving, breathing, that can get us into that deep state of flow. And, one thing that I've really learned a lot from you is how to use flow state to harness flow state as a vessel or a portal to creation and to creating projects and retreats. And I remember a couple of years ago, we were actually we were in Spain, and we were in the kitchen, and we had just wrapped up the Ecstatic Awakening retreat. And I remember it was like late at night, and we were like, what's going to be the next retreat that we organize? What is it going to be? And immediately it was like, you were saying, what if we could create the dream beyond the dream, right? And so that led to us actually creating the Dream Beyond retreat, which was in Bali almost 1 year ago today. And at that retreat, which is basically similar to what we're going to be doing at the Vision Quest 2020 in Guatemala, basically it's like, what would happen if we brought together a bunch of visionary entrepreneurs and creators to come together and create like an experimental incubator where we can utilize these flow technologies, these flow state hacks, to bring our group into a deep state of homeostasis and a deep state of attunement to visualizing our future. And what would happen if we were to stay in that state for an entire week and use these technologies for our entrepreneurial ventures. And I still think that this is one of the biggest overlooked technologies for high performers, entrepreneurs, even people in like Silicon Valley. Like you hear about them using like microdosing and stuff like that to get into the flow. But I feel like these technologies are something that are just beginning to emerge, and the people who are utilizing them are crushing it. and are really able to make a big impact. And so I want to hear a little bit like about your vision for Vision Quest this coming year in 2020, January 4th until the 8th in Guatemala. What is your vision for the container that we're going to be creating and relating it to what we did last year at Dream Beyond?
Beautiful. I love this. And so I love that you're bringing this in because, so first of all, to put this into a recipe that you can actually utilize, I would say the number one thing to bring into your life if you want to enhance flow state and enhance both nourishment and creativity and productivity is a morning practice. A morning practice, you can call it a morning ritual, something that sets the tone for the day, where you don't wake up in the morning, you just start scrolling through like whatever is the depressing reality of Facebook, or unless you come across these kind of live streams on Facebook, then you're allowed to, whatever it is for you, but something you wake up and you start from that space of silence and whether it's meditation, breathwork, nourishment. 22 Minutes of Bliss has all of it, but it's like I do sun gazing at sunrise pretty much every morning and go for a morning walk. And then I do 22 Minutes of Bliss or breath work or something else, or go to the gym. Something where you just tap into your superpowers. I guarantee like everything you create from that space is going to be infinitely more profound and better and make you more money and just feel so much more better because you tapped into that river of life and that flow of creativity. And there's something so powerful that happens, like Jonathan, like you were mentioning about Dream Beyond, where it's like we create this container we create a container that is so conducive to flow and that is so conducive to not only personal flow, but also the group flow that happens and the co-creations and the masterminding. And so what happens when we create a container where people tap into flow states such that every single person, goosebumps, every single person who are in the retreat, every single person who is in Vision Quest is there because they're a creator and they're coming into a space where you're tapping into flow states, so that you're tapping into the stream of inspiration that can come through you. Meaning that when you are in that space, you can receive an entire outline or idea for a book, or an entire outline or design for a new online course or new retreat, and you just see the entire thing in one instance or in 5 minutes or in one breath session. And then that same amount of creation that happened in 1 hour or in sometimes 5 seconds could have taken you 5 months.
Right.
Just being in front of a computer. So we're shortcutting creation. And so every person individually in Vision Quest, you'll be experiencing this. And then also we're there together with everyone, meaning that when we get into these creative conversations, and it might be that somebody needs help with something and they're like, hey, what about this? Or it might be that you're just sharing your inspiration and somebody's like, oh, boom, and then we can add this to it and that would just take it to a whole new place. And they're like, oh my God. And then that took it from a $10,000 idea into a $10 million idea just from that one shift that somebody in the group came in with. And so those things happen. Yeah. And then also because we're going to be by this Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, in the mountains, which if you have not been to Lake Atitlan yet, all of you who are watching, it's like it's on the bucket list, guys. It's like, because it's so beautiful. It's a lake up in the mountains and it's surrounded by, check this, 3 volcanoes that are all in this view, and we're going to be in this venue that has just like the only infinity dance floor I've ever seen, which is like this space that has no railings. It looks kind of dangerous, but it's so beautiful, and there's just dance floor, wood, just high, like totally open space, and then the lake and the volcanoes, and then cradled in this beautiful forest. And so we are tapping into the practices that are enhancing productivity and creativity and flow state and nourishment. We're connecting with the people who are there, who are also in this path, and they are going to be in their peak performance state. Doesn't mean that you have to be at this high level all the time, because there is a beauty to that, to the wave also, but we're going going to be in that environment, and we're going to be in nature that is so inspiring. And it's also really beautiful that we're going to be, this is just for me personally, I'm excited because this is the same place, the same village where 2.5 years ago Gabriel and I met and fell in love.
It's a good place to do that.
Be back. So
it's a good place to fall in love.
Yeah, and you're gonna meet your soulmate. Actually, Jonathan, you don't know this, but the other day at the gym, 2 days ago, I overheard a conversation between two women, and it turned out that they wanted to start a podcast together about health. One of the girls is the daughter of Drumulov, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Melchizedek, who wrote The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life.
Wow.
Daughter. And the other girl, she was there's so many things I could say about it. I'll probably make like a whole 1 hour video about everything that came from that. But basically when she's like, she looked at me and I told her about how Gabriel and I met, and they asked some more questions, and she's like, you're doing everything that I want to be doing. And she asked about the events, and so I told her about Unconventional Life Madagascar, about Ecstatic Awakening. I told her about a Vision Quest in Guatemala. She's like, that's the one. And so she wants to come to Vision Quest, and I'm going to send her the information. And she also really wants to meet her, her man, her soulmate. And
all right. We'll be there.
About how to attract your soulmate and the meditations you can do, and that's for another video. But
this is really potent, Ronja, and thank you for sharing all those reflections, because I think that what I'm really taking away from this, and I want to make sure that we all root this in our mind, that there's a field of information, a field of possibility that in this moment right now we have access to it. It's the field of energy that connects all people, and it connects our past and our future, and it's accessible right now in this present moment. And when we really tune into that energy, we can start to visualize what it is that we want to create. And a lot of times, like if you have writer's block, if you're coming up to a project and you're feeling some resistance or something, some resistance to the flow, there's different types of practices and technologies that we can utilize to kind of shake ourselves and move ourselves back into a state of flow and tapping into that connection with our future, and moving from a past present reality where we're bringing our past into the present and tapping into a future present reality. And when we do that, you then have instant access to, as you said, the vision of your book outline, or getting that instant download for a massive shift, for a strategic partnership that could take your business from 10,000 to 100 million. And recently I've been researching a lot about scaling businesses and how these successful online tech platforms went from being startups to being unicorns, as they call them, which is companies valued at $1 billion. And you listen to these stories, and it's like, wow, these people started out in their garages. They started out in their living rooms. They started working on their projects after their 9 to 5. And they went on to build massive legacies. And what we're proposing here, and what we're going to be doing at the Vision Quest, is utilizing and identifying new types of practices and principles to really nourish our mind and our body and our soul, so that when we kick off this year, we're entering this new year with a new tool belt filled with all different types of technologies that can help us to level up our reality, but not only the practices and the principles, but then also the community that's going to help us to take our idea and galactivate it to the next level, to start to help us see new futures. Because so often, I know for myself and others, like, you are envisioning a project or a business model, and you think that you know everything about that model, but then you ask a mentor or a professional, or you get a team of people looking at your idea, like we're going to be doing at the Vision Quest, and suddenly new ideas, new possibilities, new strategic partners start to come online in our awareness. And pretty soon it's like, whoa, this is actually a really great idea, and I actually now have the exact strategy for how I want to move forward. And so I think there's a dance there. It's the whole thing of like being on your computer versus taking a bath first thing in the morning. What is going to be most nourishing for you to kick off the new year? And I hope that it's going to be with you, Ronja, because I know it's going to be with you, and I'm really excited to co-create once again, and it's going to be an epic year.
I'm so excited to drop in and to start the year in this way and to be co-creating. And already, like before every event, I have this and I have this again, where there's a sense of who's going to be there. And because right now there is, of course there's a lot of participants who have joined already, but people are, right now people are in the space where they're finding out about the event. And maybe you're finding out, you who are watching, you're finding out about Vision Quest right now, and you feel that something of inspiration, which is that guidance from life that is pointing you where you need to be. And that's the cool thing, is like, is we have the vision for the retreat, but then there's also just the co-creation that happens based on the alchemy of everyone who's coming there. And I love this space that we're creating and that we'll be able to be immersed in, which is going deeper and not just going so wide that we just, like Bilbo is saying, like I'm feeling like too little butter spread over too much bread, like we spread ourselves too thin. Like what I mean, that was maybe a weird metaphor, but what I mean by that is that, like, personally, I love being alone. I love having deep friendships. I'm actually really introverted. It's really fun for me to share like this, but I love being alone and just having those deep relationships. I suck at networking. Like, I hate networking events where you're like, here's my business card and this is, what do you do for, like, I fucking hate that stuff. Like, it doesn't, if that's your thing, like, you obviously have some superpowers that I don't know, but like, I love that space where we can actually go deep and find those people that we can actually co-create with, whether it's that they are supporting us in our vision, or that we end up, you meet someone at Vision Quest and you co-create something that you've never even thought about before. That's a total new creation that could only happen through that coming together that happens in Vision Quest and in these types of places. And so I'm having that kind of pre-event, just intuitive hint vibration that's moving through, where it's like, oh, who's gonna be there, and trusting that the perfect people are gonna be there, because that's what happens every time. It's just the people that are coming together, and so it's just this way that we can start this year in such a, I would say, in an accelerated way, but it's also really this, which we'll need to do another live on this alone, which is this topic of slowing down to speed up, actually allowing ourselves to drop into that deep immersive experience, and then things just start happening without us moving faster. It's like things come to us and we step into that creativity.
That's it.
So that's the invitation that we have for you. So Jonathan, I just wanted to say, so I know that you got to go because you have a meeting. I just want to let you know, all of you who are watching, if you have any questions, you can write in the chat or reach out to Jonathan. But where can people, what's the best place for people to go if they want to find out about this event?
Yeah, just go to Guatemala. No, I'm just kidding. You can go to
it's nice to go, right? Go to
visionquestretreat.org.
Oh, nice.
And
well, I see you put it in the chat as well on Facebook there as well. And so if you're watching this video shared in another group, then just click on the actual video and the link for visionquestretreat.org will be there. And there are currently applications coming in and people are, getting their tickets. And a lot of people are also coming to Cosmic Convergence in Guatemala, where we'll be celebrating New Year's Eve. And then right after that, we're starting the year like, just starting the year like just in creative excellence and nourishment and immersion and magic, and kind of like drugs without drugs, just through the the meditations and the breath, and we haven't even talked about Jonathan's quantum meditations, but they are taking me on like cosmic space trips within my own being, but not in a way that I feel spaced out. Like I feel so incredibly present, and things just start coming to me as well. And so I'm grateful and excited to be in the space that you create, Jonathan, as well.
Yeah, and I'm really also excited to just receive the nourishment of Lake Atitlan, you know, because every time I travel to a new place, I feel like traveling in itself and going on adventures is kind of one of those nourishing life experiences that get us out of the box that, you know, we find ourselves in so often. And into a new environment, a novel environment where new experiences and magic can unfold. And I will tell you, Lake Atitlan, Guatemala, and namely San Marcos, the village where we're going to be staying at during the retreat, is a international vortex of the conscious community. That means that people who are spiritual seekers and creators come from around the world to, you know, actually connect with the energy, the Mayan energy and the energy of the lake, and just the people that come. And so there's lots of sound healing, lots of meditation events, lots of different types of gatherings, cacao ceremonies, the cacao flows. I'm pretty sure there's an actual cacao waterfall that's natural. Just kidding. But definitely cacao fields everywhere, coffee fields everywhere. So if you're into those mochas like I am, it's a great place to get farm to cup mochas.
Farm to cup mocha. Yeah. I'll do that without the coffee. So yeah, just so blessed to be hanging out with all of you guys. Let us know in the chat if this inspires you and if this resonates for you, this concept of nourishment and self-care as a portal into peak performance and the art of becoming the overflow. When you actually clear the space and you drop into that space where you can receive that inspiration and you're a genius, you're going to up level and upgrade your creation so much. But the thing is, it's not going to feel like you're trying or working or pushing. It's just going to feel like you connecting deeper to yourself and you connecting deeper to the moment. And in the moment is where everything exists, and when you have access to all of this. And so let us know in the chat if this resonates for you. Also feel free to share your personal flow hacking nourishment, favorites. You can just Google 22 minutes of bliss, and unless there's I think that's the only, you can just Google 22 minutes of bliss and you'll find it. That's a really, really beautiful morning practice. And of course, we'll be doing it live, not just that, but so much more in Vision Quest 2020. Also, let us know if you've been to Lake Atitlan, if you've been to Guatemala. And yeah, basically reach out. And I think if you want to come to Vision Quest, then you can reach out to Jonathan, and you can also find all the details on the website that he posted under this video. And this is actually the first time I'm ever doing a live from Zoom to Facebook.
I like it.
I don't actually know how to end this, because wait, I can end meeting. No, wait, here, I can stop live stream. Okay, it's from inside Zoom, just so I know how it's happening. I was like, do I delete everything now? That's which one is the self-destruct button? Yeah, but I shouldn't. It's like Baby Groot in the Guardians of the Galaxy when he's like, is it this one that's going to explode the planet, or is it this one that's going to save our lives?
The big button that says, do not press this button.
Do not press this button. It's like,
I don't know what this does. Ronja, thank you so much for this today and for sharing your wisdom, and your presence alone is nourishment to me. And so thank you for just spending this time today, and really wishing you so many blessings on your journey to Madagascar for unconditional life.
Exactly 12 hours.
Okay. Well, I know that you've got a lot to do before that, so have an amazing journey. Give a hug to a lemur for me if you could make that happen. Okay. And if you do end up wearing a onesie, a lemur onesie, definitely take a selfie.
Jonathan, can I just share one more thing than what I shared with you about the costumes? Because it's so stupid, but it's just, just very quickly, guys, because we're going to go to this island of lemurs of Madagascar. And I was just saying to Jonathan before that, you know, I really want to find a lemur onesie costume, like an animal costume. It would be so cool to make a video or a photo or just meditate where we're wearing lemur costumes and we're hanging out with lemurs. And I'm just thinking that the lemurs themselves, they'll just be looking at us and be like, what are you guys doing? Why are you dressed like me? Why are you dressed like a fake version of me? Like, just be human. Like, why are you dressed up in like a bigger version of my skin? It's so weird, but I'm teaching my inner self that I shouldn't care so much about what lemurs think and just wear onesies when I want to. And so we'll see if we can rock that, and then we'll send that to you, and we'll do a little video in your honor, Jonathan, and give a hug to the lemurs if they allow. It has to be consensual hugging.
Of course. Yeah.
But we'll just do a little love sprinkle from you to them.
Wow. Sweet. Appreciate that. Little bit of lemur love goes a long way.
Yes.
Awesome, Ronja. Thank you so much once again for everyone out there. Thank you for joining us for this Flowcast, and wishing you good vibes today on this Wednesday, and a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow here in the U.S. And yeah, definitely check out 22 Minutes of Bliss if you haven't already. Get on that train, because it's going to take you to entirely new levels of creation and embodied flow. Also check out visionquestretreat.org, and Ronja, have an amazing journey to Madagascar, and we will see you in the next live flow.
Thank you. Ending this in 3, 2, 1, stop live stream.